2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brandon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
How do I increase my sexual desire?
Welcome to the Real Talk Recovery Podcast with the Therapy Brothers.
We're brothers, we're therapists, and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
How do I increase my sexual desire?
Awesome question today, Brandon. This is going to be fun. We've got good guests coming on to have a discussion with us. Before we do that, a couple of things. First one is just another quick review that we just received. And I'm just doing this just because I want to make us feel good today. It says, it's by MP Witt, and it says 5 stars. Don't let it go to your head, boys. You guys are great. I love the good insights, straight talk, and brotherly banter. Thanks for helping me reflect on important ideas and helping me to be a better father, husband, and person.
Excellent.
Awesome.
I'm glad he said not to let it go to your head. I remember when you beat me in basketball like every other day, like you let that go to your head. So
I don't think so.
I'm glad he's giving you a little humble pie with that review.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate the reviews. Keep them coming if you guys have them. We like your feedback. They're also a way that we're able to reach more people with the message that we have to share.
So, Tyler, we have excellent guests here today. We've had excellent guests in the last few weeks. If you want to be a guest on this show, and you have a question, you have a burning question that you'd really like to bounce off of me and Tyler, Tyler, how do people go about asking the questions and coming on the show?
Really simple. If you go to therapybros.com, BROS.com, and right on the very front of it, it says ask a question. You'll just fill out a quick thing that says what your question is. And then there's a box you'll click that says, I'm willing to come on the show. And for those of you who are listening, you can see that when we have guests on, our show is way better than when it's just me and you, Brandon.
Well, you are humble. I like it. But here's the thing I think that the guests don't realize is a lot of times they come on because they sincerely have a question that they want some insight. Mm-hmm. But the kind of ancillary that I think is the most important is the good that they're doing for the world. Like when people listen to the questions and ask them, other people relate and they're going through the same things. And it's so much better to have a real life example and something relatable to actually hear from. So So if you're on that edge of, gosh, I don't know if I should, I'm a little nervous, try to have the courage, push yourself over the edge, go to therapybros.com, and we don't care what your question is. We'll handle all of them.
And we don't care if you change your name or your identity either. So we're just happy to have a discussion with you.
Yep. So speaking of awesome guests and good questions, I want to turn it over to our guest today and have you guys just introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about you, your recovery, a little background, and then let's dive right into the question. So go for it, guys.
Okay, well, my name is Sebring Sands, and I don't really keep count too much, but I'm about almost 4 years in recovery. I was in Tyler's group, a therapy group, for a good year and a half, a couple of years ago, and it's been really awesome. Currently, I'm in PA school in Connecticut. Just finished my first year of PA school. That's been really awesome. And yeah, just wanted to, before you guys really blew up, get in there before you started really weeding through all the questions. So.
Nice. I love it. I'm glad you're here. And there is...
I'm Stephanie
That's fine.
Sorry.
Stephanie?
I'm Stephanie. And I teach English to kids that live in China online.
Awesome.
That's my job. And I just work from home. I'm homeschooling my daughter. And I enjoy hiking and being outside.
Nice. Stephanie, did you go through any groups or anything?
Yes, I was actually in Tyler's women's group for about a year and a half, a couple of years ago too.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so you guys, it's so refreshing for me to see you being all the way across the country and having not seen you in quite a while. Why don't you guys just jump in and kind of explain your situation and what you're looking to discuss today?
Awesome. Yeah, so I think this has been kind of a issue with me throughout recovery. I've brought it up a couple of times in the therapy group, and it's funny because it's usually never this. It's always in reverse. It seems like, where I usually don't have sexual desire, but my wife is just wanting it and needing it and not being able to provide it for her, and that's caused a lot of shame for me and just not feeling like I'm able to provide that need for her, but also feeling content in, like, I feel like we do have pretty good sex and we're very pro sex, and I don't feel like we have a lot of shame around having sex and different things we do in sex, but it's just my desire for sex is very lacking and not very strong at this in my life right now.
Sebring, is this something that's different than it used to be? Has it changed over time?
I feel like it's gotten worse.
Worse in the sense that you don't have as much desire?
Yeah, I don't have as much desire. Like, I still do. It's just I can go sometimes when I'm in the thick of life, I can probably go a month without having sex and not even think about too much about it. But I do because Stephanie is really wanting it. And I think when I started recovery, it was still a release. I was still also like, I wasn't acting out and masturbating and stuff. So sex is great release and not having to, relapse in that way. But I think since I've been more secure in my recovery and trying to fulfill my life in other areas and kind of increase my self-care, it's kind of gone down a little bit more.
Sebring, can I ask you some questions? When I ask these questions, feel free to be like, "Nah, I don't want to answer that one." That's fine. Okay.
Okay.
So, how old are you?
I'm 29.
You're 29. Are you taking any antidepressants, like SSRIs type medications?
No.
No. Have you ever?
No.
No. Okay. Did this lack of desire for sex with your wife, with Stephanie, was that there before you started in on the recovery process?
I don't know. I think a little bit just because um I was, you know, looking at porn and masturbating, and that was, and then when she wanted to have sex, like maybe not, because an hour or two before then I was, getting that release then, but not as much. As it was a lot more desire in that respect than it is now, I feel like.
You would say, so the desire for masturbation, pornography, and just having an orgasm,
Mhm.
that was obviously there when you were acting out in a sex addiction, right?
Yeah.
But you would also say that your desire for sex in your marriage was at a higher level than even it is now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say that. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know why I'm asking this?
Maybe to see a trend, or maybe something happened, or maybe recovery is what happened. And I have a couple thoughts, but
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm just, yeah, I'm kind of doing what you're saying. I'm trying to rule out some stuff. The more information, there could be a lot of different things going on.
Mhm.
A lot of different things. And so before I jump into any advice or answering the question, we need to kind of sort through some of it. And so what I'm looking for is some sexual anorexia, possibly. And I don't know if that's what I'm hearing. And the reason is because it's in your lack of desire has increased recently, right? So usually sexual anorexia is there long before recovery happens, and sexual anorexia will persist unless you get into your own recovery around your sexual anorexia. And so you would have really felt that before the recovery, is what I'm saying. So it doesn't seem to me, Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, Brandon, maybe you need to explain for our listeners what you mean when you say sexual anorexia. That's a term that a lot of people probably won't understand.
Yeah, so sexual anorexia is it's like anorexia. It's a form of control to really avoid vulnerability. And it's very common for sex addicts to struggle with sexual anorexia, which sounds contradictory, because you think a sex addict would always want to have sex. No, a lot of times a sex addict will get their needs met, so to speak, in a non-vulnerable way, and then really push against their partner and can avoid sex a ton. And it actually feels good to avoid sex because then you're in control. And the partner feels very hopeless, alone, stuck. There's the way the sexual anorexic pushes against in the relationship creates a lot of gaslighting and crazy making, and so yeah, it's just it's usually my experience with sexual anorexia. There's some significant trauma in their childhood, and so vulnerability is really difficult. And so sex is really uncomfortable and not a fun thing. And so they want sex because they're human, but they really don't want sex. So
They don't want sex in a committed relationship because of the vulnerability that's there.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So that's sexual anorexia. So Sebring, I'm just trying to kind of rule that out. Maybe there's some tendency there. As I'm talking about it, what are you thinking?
Yeah. I feel like that's maybe more extreme on my case, but I feel like definitely, like when I started in recovery, like I was telling Stephanie this, is I felt like, I don't know if I'm sure other people feel like this too, is, you get this version of sex in pornography, and then it's not that in real life.
Yeah.
And it's a lot harder. It's a lot more work and just more skill in order to kind of do that intimacy. And I think that in the start had kind of reduced my desire a little bit, just because it was like so much more effort than it was just, looking at pornography and masturbating and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Stephanie, when you hear Sebring say that, how does that sit with you?
When I hear him say what? Which part?
Having sex with you is a lot more difficult? It's a lot harder. It takes a lot more work.
I mean, it hurts a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a crier, so I probably will cry.
It's okay.
Go for it.
But I think it just makes, I feel a little bit like unwanted a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It kind of hits that nerve inside of you of the undesirable or unwanted, maybe even some shame inside of you, even though Sebring, that's not what you're intending when you say that,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
This is what sucks about porn addiction, right? Because Sebring, you don't want to do that. That's not what you're trying to tell her, or, you know. But at the same time, Stephanie, I can totally see why you feel that way, and it makes total sense. You're in some ways, it feels like you're being rejected, you know. And Sebring, what I'm hearing you say is like in a way, you're kind of saying my dopamine receptors just don't fire off. You know, you've been shooting up crack for a while, so to speak. And so, like, yeah, it takes some work, takes some vulnerability, takes some relational work, some connection. But Stephanie, why you feel that way, 100% makes sense, and it's not fair. It's not fair to you, and it's really not fair to either one of you, right? So, what do we do about it? Where do we go from here? So.
Yeah, I think it's pretty amazing that you guys have both been willing to come on the show and talk about a topic like this because of the nature of how difficult it is to try to navigate. As Brandon was trying to weed out some things, I just want to ask a couple other things too. So he was weeding out if there might be some type of a medical issue with, you know, medicine sometimes will shut down sex drive. Aging will sometimes change your sex drive.
Testosterone takes a dive.
Yeah, that was
right?
one other question I had, was whether or not you maybe have had your testosterone checked. That could be a possibility. That's maybe just more of a logistical thing. But the other one that I was wondering about, Sebring, and this is maybe for you to think about, is that sometimes when you get yourself into recovery, one of the ways of getting sober is to try to close off and shut down the sex drive. It's almost like the sex drive itself starts to become, I don't know if the right word is a villain, but it's like you're fighting the drive itself. A lot of guys do, instead of trying to figure out how to navigate, how to bridle the drive. And then sometimes that actually then has threads into your relationship because you're so used to trying to just shut everything down and keep it low. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
How does that fit at all for you?
That might have been the case, like subconsciously, especially in the beginning, for sure. But I feel like now, like, I run up against a lot of, Stephanie thinks I'm crazy, but I am probably crazy. But like, so especially this last year, PA school is very demanding, stressful, but that's not really even the issue. Is that, like, the only times we do have that a lot amount of time is like a sweet, like 1 hour and a half before I have to go to bed because I wake up super early in order to study. And that anxiety of like, this is going to take a long time and I don't want to commit to that. And if I do go to bed late, I'm going to be super tired. I won't be able to perform, and potentially, like, especially before tests and things like that. I think that really works me up a little bit, that time anxiety. Even like when a day's normal, I'm like, what about Hazel? Our daughter, she's gonna be so bored, and she's gonna be, wandering the world without us while we're being intimate. I know it sounds crazy, but that's part of it too. It's just this anxiety around time and being in control of time.
Well, is it just time, or is it also performance? Is it, feeling like orgasm has to happen? That you got it. I mean, because you can have sex and you can have sexual experience without it taking 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I think that we've actually talked about this with another guy about it. Is, I think our expectations. My expectation was like she always has to have an orgasm. And usually like I felt bad and selfish if I was having orgasms before her, and then like if she was able to have an orgasm before me, then I give myself permission to then have an orgasm. I think that too was part of my kind of
Sebring,
around
have you
sex.
talked to Stephanie about this, about what
Yeah.
she wants, and Stephanie, yeah, like
And complete does, but yes, and we've talked about it a couple times.
well, I think it's pretty critical to have some communication here, because like if it's this performance anxiety, sex doesn't sound very fun or exciting, Sebring, because it's like, man, like I got to take this time, we got to go slow, I've got to, but if you talk to her and she wants sexual connection, and you kind of let go of the anxiety, you let go of the this goes for man and woman, by the way. When orgasm is the focus, it ruins sex. It ruins lovemaking, I should say. That it's kind of paradoxical. It seems, but when orgasm is the focus, what that does is it makes sex more of an individual experience than a connected experience. But it's really hard to let go of orgasm. It's hard to be like, I'm not going to think about orgasm here. It's really hard to do that. But when you do, then you're fully connected with each other in the present, right? Is this making sense?
Yeah, it does.
Susan Johnson refers to that kind of sex as sealed off sex, where the focus becomes so focused on the physiology that you miss out on all of the other elements of the lovemaking process. And I wonder, like, Stephanie, I kind of want to ask you, when you hear, as I'm hearing this from the outside perspective, I'm hearing that there was either some internal or maybe even some externally discussed things that made the rules of having sex with each other pretty rigid. What do you subscribe to those same rules, Stephanie, that he has to do certain things that then you can have an orgasm so that he can have permission to then have an orgasm? Do you guys agree on that?
I don't feel like we've ever like set those rules or talked about that really. Like when we first were married, I didn't ever orgasm. I just didn't really know how or anything. So I think it's I'm okay, me personally, I'm okay not. I'm okay just being in the connecting with him and being in the experience with him. I'm okay if, we only have 10 minutes or whatever. Like, I just want to be able to connect with him.
Mm-hmm. So Stephanie, as you're saying that, I'm wondering what it would be like right now if you were to actually face your husband and look him in the eye and say, I don't care how long it takes. All I really want is that kind of time with you. What would that feel like to you?
Well, we've had that discussion before. And I think what I've gotten from Sebring, correct me if I'm putting words into your mouth, but what I've gotten from Sebring before is just that I think he feels a lot of shame around like me not having an orgasm. I think he feels like 10 minutes, a quick maybe isn't enough. I don't know, like, am I?
Yeah, well, so yeah, if like I'm having orgasm and it's quick, yeah, I don't like that because I do feel super selfish. But then I was talking with this friend about it, and he said like, well, what happens if no one has an orgasm? I was like, oh, like I didn't think that was even a possibility. And we tried that once, and I initiated it, and it was pretty quick. But no, I didn't have an orgasm. She didn't have an orgasm. We just left it at that. I don't know if that was good or not, but
There's
to
a-
kind of explore that not being so orgasm centric.
There's a type of tantric sex called kareza that is sex without orgasm, and everyone listening probably is, okay. I'm shutting down this episode. But it's a great practice because what it does is it removes. What's so interesting is the last thing that helps a woman come to orgasm is pressure to orgasm, and Sebring, if I were to dig into you a little bit, this is what I'm picking up on, and I could be off on this, but you seem to be a pleaser. You seem to want to make her happy, make people happy, and there's also this sexual shame and trauma that says anything I do sexually can't be self gratification and can't be selfish. So wow, that's a lot of pressure. Are you a pleaser in your family? Were you a pleaser? Were you supposed to be the good guy? Yeah. So
do either of you know anything about Enneagrams?
Yes.
Have you heard of those? Sebring is a 3. I don't know if you know about
that
Enneagrams.
makes sense to anyone.
A 3, which a 3 is like, they like to be efficient with time. They
high achieving. Stuff like that.
I'm a 9.
So your Enneagram listeners were like, oh yeah.
Oh, okay. There
That
it
makes
is.
sense.
Sebring, I'm going to say it this kind of bluntly, but I'm not. In really trying not to use Stephanie when you have sex, and really trying not to be selfish, you're being selfish. Are you following me?
Yeah.
You're using her to feel like you're good. You're using her in sex to feel like you're a good man and that you're good enough. Because I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it non-selfishly. I'm going to make sure she orgasms. And all that is about you feeling okay and you feeling good. And what you're not is actually having a sexual experience that's about total connection and love making, right? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing, Sebring. I'm hearing a ton of internal pressure that's going on inside of you. And it's interesting, Stephanie, that you'd say, take a guy who's built to be efficient, and then you add in a guy who's extremely unselfish, which is an awesome trait to have in a marriage. And then you take a guy who's had it drilled into him that sex just for gratification is his addiction. And it would make sense why you wouldn't have much of a sex drive.
And he's a caretaker too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because what Brandon's trying to say is that one of the best ways that you could attend to your relationship is to actually let the pressure come off yourself. And I think I hear from your wife's side of things that she's even saying, giving you permission, saying, yeah, that's what I want. I just want him. I just want my husband. I don't care I don't care who orgasms first. I just want to be with him. And it makes sense, Sebring. I think what I'm trying to say is that Brandon's kind of pushing on you, and I think he's right here, but I just want to throw in the compassionate side to say it makes sense, and I can see why.
Tyler's always making me out to be the uncompassionate one, but
I didn't say that, Brandon.
but I want to take this to the next level. If we really dig down and look at the issue here, it's an issue of what I call nobility in terms of Sebring, you actually truly knowing yourself and your worth, and knowing that you're unconditionally loved and that you're okay. And that you don't have to do things perfect, and you don't have to please her, and you don't have to do all these things to be okay. That you are, and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes in your marriage, at work, and for you to be able to say, okay, I'm going to do my best, but I can still make those mistakes, right? And so deep down, it's interesting that we can see it through this lens of your sex life in your marriage, but deep down, there's still a little bit of a question unanswered, or a void that's saying, am I okay? Am I okay? Right? So, and that's at the crux of recovery. That it's not sobriety, it's not 4 years of sobriety, it's that ultimately is true recovery.
What do you think of that, Sebring?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I think too, like, I think part of me subconsciously, like, I like have so much. I don't think I've ever really thought about that this way, but it's kind of coming up. But I've never told her this, but maybe because of like the so much hurt I've caused her, maybe like I'm trying to atone for that and pay her back in some way. And I don't know.
Yeah, Sebring, what's the emotion that's coming up right now as you're talking?
I don't know. Maybe a little bit of shame, but also kind of what's the word? Kind of like more accepting of like, oh, I'm letting my preconceived assumptions aside and realizing that, like, yeah, I haven't fully accepted just myself, and I don't know.
Sebring,
Oh, go ahead, Tyler.
Sebring, I'm going to just be quick, and then Brandon can chime in here, but you're a very good man with a good heart. And when you genuinely want to atone for the pain that you've caused, it's interesting because at a certain point in your recovery, you atone by being remorseful and almost beating yourself up. But as you grow into your manhood and as you grow into your recovery, one of the ways that atonement process actually continues is that you start to agree with God on all of the things that he says you are. And then you start to step into that role, and you become the man who steps into your relationship and offers your wife strength, and you become an equal partner to her again. And it sounds like that's maybe the step that you're in the process of needing to navigate a little bit.
Yeah.
Tyler's tearing up, but I got to tell you, that's not hard to get him to tear up. But
I cry a lot.
But he said, I was picking up on that you're a caretaker, and that you're using her for your self-worth, Sebring. But the other thing I'm picking up from you is what Tyler just said. You genuinely have a really good heart. Like you really do. And you want to do good, and you want to be a good husband, and it's genuine. That's in there. And that word atone is so interesting because like, who says you have to atone for that, for the mistakes that you've made? You can definitely work hard to rebuild trust and do what you can to make things right, but you don't atone for that anymore. And this is actually an issue of letting go, of not working harder at this point. Heck, you're going to PA school. You've been working recovery for 4 years. You've done. Tyler's yelled at you in group several times, I'm sure. Like, you've done enough. Now it's time to just like rest in some acceptance and love, and be okay with yourself. And if you can get yourself to that place, then all the pressure goes off with sex and your relationship and all of those things. So it's a letting go and letting God. It's about surrender at this point.
It's surrender at a deeper level than maybe you've ever experienced, because it's surrendering your preconceived judgments back to God and letting him define who you are again.
Yeah. Are you guys, so I want to kind of bounce back to something, Sebring. You said I'm really busy. I'm really stressed. And one thing that can kill libido, it's like the libido killer, is stress. So here you are, probably one of the most stressful times of your life. all the stuff that we've already talked about is there when it comes to sex. And then, stress increases cortisol, which then decreases testosterone and destroys libido. So can you get rid of stress in your life?
Well, not completely reduce the
No.
negative assumptions of it, I guess, but
how? How do you manage? How can you manage stress better?
well, I think it was this podcast. You guys were saying like changing the mindset of changing it from being something that's bad to something that's using as a tool to, and not something that's just part of life, and not being so resistant of it, I guess, and the kind of the whole surrender thing to it, and work with it, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's more it's acceptance of what is. Like a lot of your suffering and stress is just in your own anxiety, in your own head, right? Easier said than done, though. Like, hey, just don't have it. Like, stop thinking that. Sebring, knock that off. Another thing too is just your dailies, your self-care, like really making sure that you got this load of stress, making sure that you have the energy reserves to handle it. And if you're not doing good self-care, then you're not going to manage your stress well. Your body's going to take that stress on, and your hormones are going to go all out of whack, and your libido is going to go goodbye, right? So I know it's hard when you got tests and you got this to stop and be like, no, I'm going for a jog. Like, I need a release right now. Or no, I am getting my 7 hours of sleep tonight. Like, that's going to happen. Like, these are the basic things, but if you want a healthy sex life and a good libido, then you need to take care of your body, right?
Stephanie and Sebring, we're getting fairly close on our time today. Do you guys have any other thoughts or any other questions?
I don't know. I guess, like, what could I do to, I guess, be supportive of Sebring and like have sex be more connecting, I guess.
Stephanie, when you feel that pressure and that, like, that energy of, of this has to happen, when you feel that, what I want you to do is to put voice to it, is to acknowledge it and pump the brakes a little bit, have some boundaries around. And that could be really hard, because if you haven't had sex in a while and it's like, hey, this is happening, like, but for you to just be like, hey, like, let's just stop and let's just like hug each other. Let's just kiss. Like, we're good. Let's just chill right now. Because I feel this pressure. Let's just chill, right? And for you to just put voice to that. And what you're doing is you're saying, I don't want to engage in sex in this way. I want to engage in sex in a real connected way, right? So that's you just having some boundaries.
Because I feel like sex for us has kind of almost become like I have that desire, but when we do have it, it's almost become like just like a check mark on a list a little bit. And like, we don't do a lot of like foreplay, I think, because it is that check on the list, like, just to, get it done and over with. And we've tried like different things that have helped us to try and do more like foreplay, but it's difficult to I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think something that's hard for Sebring is like it gets boring, I think. Like which like for a while we had this app that like is like a game app for sex, and it like gives you like different prompts and stuff. And now we have this thing called like this subscription called Dollar Dates, and it has like a date and has different things. So it's like more, it's I guess different each time. But I think that's part of the struggle too, just that there's not a lot of foreplay, and so it almost, I think our sex kind of becomes almost a little bit robotic, just in the fact that like these are the things that we do. Like I don't know.
I think it's okay sometimes that if those are the things that you do, that's fine. What I'm hearing is that maybe what I would suggest, Stephanie, is the conversation that we started to have earlier today, and that you guys have said you've stepped into a couple of times, is the conversation that I would suggest you continue to have in an ongoing way to align yourselves that the goal and the focus might be different than the goal and the focus that's caused it to be a checklist. And if you can open and expand what the expectation and the goals are for what you're doing when you interact with each other, take it away from the focus on let's just have an orgasm. What are the steps? 1, 2, 3, 4, like, and actually say, it doesn't matter where this ends. We have some time with each other. The focus could then even allow the same steps to feel different, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think too, me and my wife had great sex after she beat me in cribbage. And I didn't let her win. But here's my point is like, it had nothing to do with sex, and it had everything to do with sex. So like you're making love and having sex throughout a day, and it has nothing to do with penetration. And so like a sex app, I actually really like that idea. I'm interested as to what that is, and I want to fire that up with my wife. But that still is surrounded around sex, right? And maybe there needs to be some other connection. Maybe there's a show that you guys love to watch together, and like, so just spend some time like laughing about that show, or like really getting into it. Play some games, not some sex games, but just some games. Like you have a young child, like you're in the grind of life, you're at PA school, but it does take commitment to connect. And when you have that underlying connection and that you want to spend time together, it feels good to connect about certain things, then sex starts to come more naturally. So, and you guys, it wouldn't hurt to go to a sex therapist as long as they're a good one. Just to be able to address some of these things and to continue to work through things. I'm hearing, Sebring, that you're plenty far enough in recovery that sex therapy could actually be a good thing at this point for you guys. So it's something to consider as well. All right, you guys. Go ahead, Tyler.
I was just gonna say it's so nice to see your faces again. I got to tell you guys how much I love you, and I'm so glad that you were willing to come on the show and let me see you again.
Well, thanks so much for taking our question, helping you guys grow. It's great.
We'd love to have you guys on again too in a couple months. So maybe we'll be hitting you up.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Stephanie.
Why not?
Awesome. You guys did awesome today. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
You.
All right. If you like this episode, please don't be afraid to share it. And remember to go leave us a review, and have a great day. We'll see you guys.